Hello and welcome back to the ministry. And today is the long awaited review of Why Did I Get Married? We're going to delve into each individual relationship. We're not doing this review like I normally do it, where I review the movie by movie. We're going relationally for each relationship, okay? So this one's gonna be fun. Which means I also have to go through one character is going to be done twice because she got separated from her first husband and then married somebody different. And we're going to do the dichotomy of the two relationships as well. Okay? So this should be interesting. So I'm trying to figure out which relationship I want to start with. Before I get into that, I want to talk about the concept of the film. Why Did I Get Married is a film about four couples that every year they go on vacation to, one, spend time with each other because they've been friends since they were children, or at least college. And they have like a timeshare that they go on vacation every year as couples, and one of the couples uses it as an opportunity to get out their frustrations and to talk about certain things they may not always talk about. So it's about friendship, but it's also like a therapy retreat as well. And what comes of it with both films is whenever you open a can of emotional worms, things that people aren't talking about and people's feelings are involved, you come into potential issues because there are long-standing problems that each couple was not dealing with. And because of that, it opens up a can of worms, you could say, for each individual's relationship on each side. So we're going to go through each issue for each couple and look at it from the perspective of the personality types of the couple and the issue, what kind of relational thing they maybe had been going through. And some of you may be able to identify your own relationship if you actually are in a relationship with your God ordained spouse. You may be able to identify which couple you are. 9 times out of 10 of them, a lot of the people that watch these films can identify themselves in that relationship. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something fun with y'all. And if y'all actually want to participate, you can. I'm going to add a poll after I post these videos that's going to have you pretty much identify which relationship you are with your spouse. Okay? And we're just going to go through it. Okay? So let's get started. Haha, 414. With each individual couple. Let's start with Terry, which is Terry, Bob, the pediatrician, and Diane Bob, the attorney. All right. What we first come into the realization of when we meet Terry and Diane is the fact that you're dealing with two people that have good professional jobs. He's a pediatrician, she's an attorney, but they have a small fox that they're dealing with that they're not paying attention to. One thing that you need to make sure that when you get married is to pay attention to the warning signs. Because if you recognize the small foxes at first, you will more be able to handle the bigger issues because you carved away at the smaller ones first. You understand what I'm saying? So that when you get to the bigger issue, it's not as big of an issue as it's been made out to be because you dealt with the smaller problems first. You can tell that, let's talk about love languages for a moment. Terry wants quality time. He's a very quality time person. And the number one argument you hear him make at the very beginning of the film is, you don't spend no time with me. And it's that element of being attentive to your spouse, to understanding that they need the time. When you get married, you can't be sitting there, and this was something I heard on Instagram the other day, which makes a whole lot of sense. You can't sit up there and get married and think that, oh, I'm married now. I got the ring. We together. We done had kids. It solidified our relationship. He ain't going nowhere if you're not attending to the relationship. You understand what I'm saying? The first issue she has is he's trying to have a conversation with her, and what? She's sitting there playing on her phone. And I can attest to being this type of person. If I don't want to deal with a problem, I pick my phone up and I'll start messing with my phone. I'm open to saying that right off the bat. If I don't want to deal with something, I don't want to talk to you, I got an issue that I don't feel like talking about right now, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick up my phone. Or I'm going to get up and leave the room and go somewhere where I ain't got to talk to you. But she was stuck in the car, so she couldn't get up and go nowhere. She was in the car with him. So she starts playing with her phone and looking at her messages. Number one, if I didn't say number one already, if you're in a relationship, out of just sheer respect, you need to put your phone down. If your spouse is willing to put his work down to spend time with you, you best to put that phone down. If you got an issue with picking it back up, guess what? Put it somewhere that you cannot pick it up and start playing with it again. I mean the phone. I'm talking about the tablet. I'm talking about the computer. Yeah. Put it down. Put it down. Put it down. Now, what was her excuse? I'm in the middle of a major case at home, and me going on vacation was not the perfect timing because this case emotionally has me stretched. Because her emotions are attached to her client. And she's not realizing that she has a better relationship with her work than she does with her spouse. And he mentions to her, excuse me, you're in a relationship with your job, not me. And he tells her that. Pay attention to the signs. If your husband straight out tells you you're in a relationship with your job, not me, you need to pay attention to the fact that if you're going to put your job before your spouse, you ain't gonna have the spouse very long, okay? And I want to sit that right there. You understand? For those of us that a majority of our work is done on our computers, it is so easy. The second you pick it up, pick up your computer, pick up your cell phone, pick up your tablet, pick up your computer. Oh, I got an email. Oh, I got to check social media out. And especially if you do anything in relation to social media, live streaming, whatever it is that you do in relation to social media, it's automatic. Especially if that's how you operate. It's automatic. You'll have a tendency, I gotta pick that up, I gotta pick that up. We live in a society, especially within the past 2 years, 2 to 3 years, that a lot of the things that we do revolve around online. Whether it's product sales, whether it's clothing sales, whether it's online coaching, whether it's whatever it is. If you're an online influencer and have used these social media platforms, everything's online. And because everything is online and you've been diligently building, and because especially those of us that we're in this society now, that you got to maintain and continually be up to date with what's going on with the algorithms online. You can't even really take a break unless you got an entire team behind you that you can say, okay, team, I'm going on vacation. I need you to keep this in order for me. So, but she was an attorney. So it was more on the line for what she was doing because the type of attorney she was, I think she was a juvenile representative. So she represented juveniles. And this particular case was one that was messing with her heart because of how young the boy was. Now, on the flip side, he wanted quality time, but was he coming into the understanding of she's in the middle of a case that is emotionally bothering her because of the type of case it is? Is he being attentive enough to be interested in what she's dealing with? Is he coming into the recognition she's dealing with something right now that maybe I need to be attentive emotionally and not brush off her heart's feelings towards this? I remember I was listening to the 5 love languages, and the woman was talking to her husband, and the husband would always come up with a solution, and then get frustrated when she didn't take the advice he gave her in relation to the solution in which he had given for that problem that which she had. But he wasn't understanding. She was not seeking solution. She was seeking that quality time and emotional, what's the word I'm looking for? Emotional support that she was not getting. The second that Patricia came into the room, she told Patricia, I'm dealing with this juvenile that I have an issue that he could potentially go to jail for the rest of his life. I got to make sure that I'm on top of this, because she actually feels like if she doesn't deal with the problem, it's her fault for not being there. Raise your hand if you are one of those types of people. You're a coach, you're what have you, you're a life specialist, you're what have you. I dealt with a young woman who she was dealing with a specific thing in her country, and I remember that she was explaining to me about the types of things, and I was giving her advice on how she could deal with the business aspect of it. And I remember beginning to get emotionally attached. The one thing that the Lord always does with me, He sometimes has to pull me back from people because of the fact that I will become so absorbed in their issue. But that's not my problem. I need to advise them, but I can't do more than maybe pray for them or give them the strategy, whether it be I'm consulting or I am, what's the word? Coaching them through it. If they choose not to take the advice, I can't hold on to that. But we as women have a tendency to hold on to that. So she, in this moment, was holding on to the fact that subconsciously she would feel burdened that this would be my issue if I'm not there to take care of it. So she's actually operating in a state of anxiety that her husband's not recognizing. Okay? So as the movie progresses, we find that as things transpire with other characters, we see that Diane, she's kind of in a state of avoidance of intimacy. We later find out she had her tubes tied without telling her husband. Now, in today's society, with there being so much pushback on pro-choice, pro-life, being able to make a specific decision on what you want to do with your body. I remember years ago I was watching, somebody had a YouTube reality show they were doing, and they were talking and giving advice to their cousin because their cousin was getting ready to go to college, but she wanted to have her tubes tied, and the woman was telling her, I don't think you should do that because you don't know whether you're going to want to have kids later. I actually know somebody else who is a friend of a friend that got their tubes tied and successfully reversed it and ended up having a child after that. So it's that element of, but the point I'm trying to make is for Diane's case, she in fact was, how do I say this? She was being non-forthcoming. This is a major thing that could create a rift between her and her spouse. And I don't know if they ever mentioned how long she had had her tubes tied, because she was concerned about the fact that every time she would get pregnant, because after having their daughter, it took time away from her work. Now, if you paid closer attention, you come to find that when she and her husband got married, she became I think it's a paralegal or something like that. But at this particular point, she's come into a space where she got the opportunity. And I remember even just from watching Girlfriends that when you're in a law firm, when you get the opportunity to become, it's like partner. That's what it was. She was up for partner. I think she already gotten it, but because she became partner, I believe that right around the time that she was going to become partner, she chose to do this procedure because she knew that if she was going to maintain her career, she couldn't get pregnant at that time. Now, was this a selfish decision? Absolutely. In marriage, let's go to the word. Your body belongs to your spouse and his body belongs to you. Yes. We are supposed to do what? Be fruitful and multiply. And this whole feminism, female empowerment, career driven woman actually threatens that because of the fact that as career driven women, we want to be present in our careers. But in the fact of giving birth to children, that takes time and energy because from the point in time in which the baby is gestated to the point in time it's birthed, depending on how it was birthed, whether it was C-section, whether it was the healing process could take anywhere from 6 months on to heal from those stitches, the emotional, because a person can get postpartum, a person can have hormonal imbalances, a person can deal with pain, meaning if they were cut open, they have to deal with the pain of the cut that they had. Then they also have to deal with the baby or babies, and they sometimes cannot deal with the emotional stress that it puts on them and their partner during that period of time. It can be good, but it can be stressful. I remember I was watching Shameless Maya and her husband when they had their daughter. She was an emotional wreck. And she said for the first month or so, maybe 2, when they got over that hump, they call it the fourth trimester, where she's dealing with the emotional side effects that come from the detachment of the placenta. A whole lot of hormones go into the body. And because of that, it left her and her husband at a state where they were arguing all the time. And it wasn't because they wanted to argue. It was the baby's crying. It was the this. It was the stress. It was you're trying to get readjusted. The baby's not taking, what is it? The baby's not easily consolable. Then you've got, what do they call it? I don't think the baby got colic, but I think she dealt with something in relation to her milking issue, and it was a lot that was going on. And then she was dealing with the emotional postpartum after having her daughter. So it was like, it was a lot that was being dealt with. But my point for saying that, this is all the stuff that we go through to give birth to possibly a child or 2 children. And if you're called, your family births multiples. So in her thought process, she's thinking, oh, if I tie my tooth, I can undo that later. You don't really need to know about that. Problem. Number 1, when she thought to do it, it was a dangerous aspect because of the fact that from the point in time in which the decision was made by her and was not spoken to her spouse, there was a potential rift that was going to go all the way up through their marriage until the moment that it was revealed, which was a threat to the union. Do not, I repeat, do not do anything when you are married that could potentially become an issue later. I don't care what it is. Don't do it. If you feel that way, talk with your spouse. At the same time, some people believe they're more afraid to have the conversation. I'm thinking this way. I want to talk to you about it. And they're feeling like, oh, they're not going to respect my desires anyway, so I might as well just not tell them. And the fact that I'm even thinking this way, I don't want to create a different kind of rift with my spouse, XYZ, and then it causing, what do you call it, long-term confusion. But I heard a man talking on Instagram the other day, and he was making the point of saying that when you are married, the ugly truth is better than a beautiful lie. She told her husband a beautiful lie. Oh, I just don't want to have kids right now. I don't want to have any more children. We have our daughter. It's okay. Blah, blah, blah. With the assumption that it would never come out. So we're having a vacation and she's avoiding trying to have sex with her husband. So, under the principle of the fact that your body belongs to your spouse, his body belongs to you, the number one thing, sex manipulation. That is a formulation of control, operating in pride, so on and so forth. She's trying to manipulate when they have sex, mostly because she knows that if they have sex, that she might get caught because of how easily they had their daughter. So if she starts having sex with him too frequently, he's going to start questioning, you got pregnant with her quick. What's going on? Is there something wrong with me? Which could also open up a can of worms to make him question and second guess, especially seeing as she lied and didn't tell him. He's going to question, well, is something wrong with my body if I'm sleeping with you and we can't produce a child? Which opens a different form of worm. Omission is still a lie. Just because you didn't say it, it's still a lie. So, with that being said, she's avoiding having sex and he's getting frustrated. But what she don't know is when the guys are talking. Her husband said, well, yeah, there's a chick that's at my job, but I'm committed to my wife. She don't know it's a chick at the job. She don't know there was a chick at any particular point. Why? Because she ain't communicating and she's not being forthcoming with her husband. And all of this kind of confusion is a threatening point for their marriage. Do not create points that the devil can come into your relationship and break it up. The number one thing you should not do is create open doors, open windows into your marriage that can cause wedges. Meaning there shouldn't be extra female friends, there shouldn't be extra male friends on your side or his side that could be potential issues. It shouldn't be. I remember hearing Rev Run say years ago in an interview, he said, I don't even entertain females outside of my wife. If I get on an elevator and there's someone that looks too, I don't put myself in position to threaten my marriage. So this is a sticky situation, but I believe it's something that needs to be discussed because of the fact that some of y'all might end up going through this. Hello, career-driven women. Now, do I believe that a woman should tie her tubes? I think that she can. I think that she can. But if you're married, you're supposed to talk to your spouse about it at the very least. I don't want to get into the abortion conversation, but I will say this much. An ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. Whatever you do to take prevention before it gets to that phase, this is why abstinence and celibacy are key when you're not having it. But if you're in a marriage, there are discussions that need to be had. It's part of what it is. So I'm going to actually have to end this one. And I don't think we're done talking about that. No, we're not. I got to do a whole nother part. So I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about a little further this next phase of their relationship.